Hey everybody, welcome to another Essential Conversation here at Wellbeings, and I am honored to be accompanied today by Sachin. And well, let me tell you a little bit about this man. He really impressed me. He's lived with the war in his head for over 20 years, and then he got brave enough to want to pursue peace. And um, and this took him on a journey where he went down many avenues and tried many things. He started to come back to the understanding that he had to drop his stories in his mind that was causing him so much suffering, so much pain, so much familiar patterns and dynamics. So he decided to drop the stories instead of trying to edit them. He's coming back to the understanding that he's already whole, he's not broken. And he had to let go of the default that he was broken because he's went through, again, as I said earlier, traumas and abuses that from a young perspective was telling him he was broken. So since 2017, he's found a way through this, and he's helped himself get through that whole choppy ocean of trauma to a place of peace, and he's helping others transverse this choppy ocean to get onto solid ground. And his mission is to call the best in all of us forward so we can have less on our minds and enjoy our lives. Like, what a wonderful segue. Sachin, welcome, brother.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man, let's just dive right in. I'm really curious about what part of the world, where were you born into? What neighborhood?
My dad came from India when he was like 5, and my mom was born in England. I was born in West London, Hayes. I don't know if you know it. It's
Hmm.
near Heathrow Airport. Um, yeah, 1992.
Mm. What was that neighborhood like growing up?
It was safe. Like it was really cool to have all of my like family, extended family living around us. And then someone got killed down the road from where we lived. I think it was like someone got stabbed or something, and my dad was like, "Right, we're getting the fuck out of here." And all of my family who lived around us, they didn't like it that we moved out into a less, what do you want to call it? I don't know. They just didn't like it that we moved out of the area, so caused a lot of friction.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine that. When you think about it, your dad wasn't the only one who moved over. And you're dealing with displacement. You're dealing with first generation landing on foreign soil, trying to do what it takes to survive. So there's not a lot of so community is important, but also they're distracted from the people around them. Sometimes their family, they're so busy trying to survive. So this has taken me into like, what was your childhood like, Saskia? And what stands out as a few key experiences that shaped you in those formative years?
The earliest memories I have of me being young is like I feel like I could hear people's hearts, not their heartbeats, but just like hear who they were. Like someone
We're dealing with some little turbulence at the moment with some Saskian's Wi-Fi here. So just taking a moment, if you're watching, just go make a little cup of tea, and we should get over this sort of wobbly sort of uh, internet issue pretty soon. Yeah, we just we're just going to give it a minute or two, and Sachin will be back in to join us. So Sachin again is going to tell us a little bit about his journey through turbulent, traumatic environment, which is really a really non-responsive, unsafe environment, and how he got how he called his mind into question, how he dropped the stories and moved towards peace. So let's allow this imperfect moment just to be. It's like life. Sometimes things don't go as we plan them to go. So just bear with us here. Here we go. Hey Saskia, welcome.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Whatever. We're here now, innit? Fuck it.
Yeah, it's all good, man.
So
it's like life. It's imperfect.
We roll with it. The earliest things I can remember is just like hearing who people actually were behind their tone of voice or behind whatever words they were using to describe what's the word, hide their intentions. So like I was surrounded by people who fucking hated my family because we were trying to do better for ourselves. Well, not we, but like my mom and dad wanted better for me and my brother. And some of my earliest memories are being surrounded by like lots of people, but just feeling like something's off. I didn't, as at the time when I wasn't really equipped with language to be able to describe what I was going through. And I was surrounded by pedophiles and child molesters, and that wasn't very fun either. Like rapes and molestations are happening to me, to lots of kids around me, and I'm watching it and I'm living it, and I'm trying to tell people about it, and they're telling me, no, no, no. If you tell anyone, then bad things will happen, and it's like it's all my fault basically, and that's what was being reinforced on a regular basis. And I tried to talk to my parents about it, but I couldn't articulate it. I couldn't really say what was happening. And the pedophiles' kids were like doing stuff to other people's kids too. So I don't know what was going on with them. I'm pretty sure their dad was beating them, or their dads, plural, were beating them, and their moms and all that. And just remember like internalizing all this stuff as like it's my fault, and there's obviously something wrong with me. That's why it's happening.
Wow. Well, I just think I'm still stuck with, you were, noticing and seeing, sexual abuses taking place, and you were also experiencing sexual abuse yourself in this and you were feeling the ulterior motives of people around you. You were feeling what was hidden behind the words, and you were alone with this knowing and alone with the trauma because no one was listening. And you also imagine you must have been scared. It must have been terrifying for you to you may not have felt that at that time, but looking back to that little boy, it seems a very unsafe, very non-responsive, very unreliable environment.
It's really weird, yeah, because looking back at it, I can remember being scared sometimes, but just I always knew that everything would be okay. I don't know how. I always knew like this isn't gonna last forever, and as soon as it stops, I'm gonna start living. And I didn't know it at that time, but that's how I'm describing the feeling. It's like, yeah, all this fucked up shit's happening, but it's not important. And I don't know, maybe it's like me dissociating from the trauma. I got no idea, but I don't know all the fancy terms. But one thing I really remember is like growing up with existential crisis. Other 7-year-olds are thinking about, oh, I want ice cream. I'm sitting there asking my dad, what do I do if I don't want to get married, have children, have a job and all that? What do I do then? And he's like, what? Like other kids are trying to have a good time. I'm sitting there wondering, why the fuck am I at school? This idiot who's talking to us doesn't. I remember I used to call the teachers idiots. It's not good. I'm not proud of it. But when I was very young, I was sitting there like, what are you supposed to be talking to me about? What are you teaching me? How's this thing going to be helpful or useful for me or conducive to living at peace? How is it going to help me? And I just used to get in trouble with the teachers all the time, just arguing with them about random stuff because I'm sitting there like, yeah, how's this going to help me with this? What's going on? The war in my fucking head. And I just got into a lot of trouble at school because of that.
Yeah, well, that's what happens, whenever, I remember a sort of delinquency that I had, and it was, again, it's another way that we, apart from the the lack of common sense that you can be experienced in education back then. But it's the cry for help. It's like we don't know at that time how to, and often, even if we have the courage to say, hey, no, I'm something's not feeling right, there's something wrong here, the people don't know how to deal with it, so we make lots of noise so we get noticed. We don't know how to make sense of it, and then we end up, stepping out of school or acting up in school and just feeling like the minority, just like how we feel at home or on our street where we're all alone again. It keeps happening. Wow. And what age were you? When so when you're talking about, like what was it like in your, sort of mid to late teens? Were you starting to get through this? Like, how was that time where you were starting to become, like 14, 15, 16, 17? What was that phase like in your life?
So I went on a ski trip with my school when I was 13. That was the first time I tried to kill myself. I didn't even realize I was doing it. So we were on this mountain, and the guy, it was the last day, and the instructor was like, "Look, you guys do whatever you want today, but just go, don't like bomb it down the mountain." And I did. I was like, "Yeah, challenge accepted," bro. Is one of my favorite sayings. And I just went for it, and I didn't realize I was trying to hurt myself. But then, like, episodes like this kept happening. Um, and then, well, that was like 13, 14. I started like being interested in girls, and that wasn't really going too well because I just had zero confidence. And from all the voices in my head are like, no one's gonna ever want to touch you, so like, don't even bother. And I think women were interested in me, and my coach told me this a while ago. He's like, Sachin, you've had this sign around your neck for a long time, imaginary sign that says "fuck off." And I get it, because it's like, you know, coming from that place of like, it's not consensual, it's not on my terms, to now I want to pursue this stuff. Just had a lot of thinking about it. And then when I was like 16, I found out about weed. The plant really helped me. It for the first time in my life, when I smoked weed, the first time that the voices went from volume 1 million to volume 10. And I was like, whoa, hold on a minute. What's this? It's quiet in my head for once. And like, it was really strange. And I just dove headfirst, started smoking all the time because it was the only relief that I had. Like, weed and video games just completely like take me out of my head and into a different reality. But I guess it's a different part of my head. And that was, yeah, that was helpful to an extent.
Yeah, yeah, I can understand why that would give you and how that would give you relief, and to the viewers out there, there's lots of ways that we seek relief, and without judgment, without criticism, with good reason. Sometimes the most loving thing we can do is get relief from our pain, and sometimes at the early in our life, and well, not just early in our life, but at any stage in our life, those can be things that can eventually become destructive. They can be alcohol, can be drugs, can be sex, can be gambling, can be high risk maneuvers, putting your life in danger to, get that real high dopamine hit. So there's lots of ways. And again, without judgment, these are the things that we need. So it's not like, oh no, that's what we're doing to medicate, but what are we medicating? Like that's the thing. And there was plenty to be medicating. Those voices. What were some of the scripts or the sort of flavor of those voices, Saskia, when you think back to that time?
Oh, it's quite familiar because you get whispers of it now and then, but like, I treat it very differently. So back then it was like, well, no one likes you. Bad things should be happening to you. You're not smart enough to handle any of this stuff. You're weak. Um, you can't stand up for yourself. Um, yeah, no girls are gonna like you. You're dirty. Um, yeah, like, it's wrong for you to want to touch women and shit. Um, and masturbation, you shame the shit out of yourself for that too. So like, yeah, I really want to touch women, but I'm too like, I'm not worthy of it, or I'm not gonna have it, or never gonna happen. So I just turned to the internet, and that's a really unhealthy relationship that I formed. Like, I love that you said no judgment and criticism. looking back at it, yeah, I would do it and then not feel so great about it. And just reinforcing more of the voices in my head. Oh, look, yeah, you're doing that again, never going to have women in your life. And what's really funny was one of my friends at university told me, she's like, you know, a lot of girls thought you were gay because you'd never hit on them, even when they were really like making it obvious, like, I'm trying to have something with you. And then you're just like, eh. And she said to me, like, it's cool if you are, but I'm just asking, like, are you straight? I was like, yes, I like women. And she's like, well, you know, like, just drop it, drop the whole, you need to be impressive and just hang out with us like we're dudes. And I did, and it changed everything. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah, well, those very heavy, the very heavy critical parental voices in our minds that can be very controlling, harsh, self-loathing, self-defeating, really produce and accentuate guilt and shame that really narrows your vision. And that lovely lady, that friend of yours who told you that, just gave you an opportunity to have an expanded vision where you weren't in that sort of contracted child state. You allowed yourself to go in a sort of free child and explore what that would be like with others. So she gave you quite a gift in that
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, she did, man. And she just gave me some questions to ask. Like, for example, like, is it okay if I touch you? Or like, you know, I want to see, I want to see you naked. Is that okay? Or like, is it okay if I take my pants off? Or like, just and explain to people like, hey, I'm weird about sex. I have been for a long time. Don't really want to get into it, but like, is that okay with you? And my first relationship experience was really traumatic. I was with this girl. We started off very casual, just having sex, and it was like the first girl I'd ever been with, and I was like, oh my god, sex! This is amazing! Holy shit! And then after it kind of ran its course, I wanted to break up with her because I didn't like some of the things that I was seeing with her. Like she was a very like I don't want to judge it, but just like a very negative person and very like argumentative. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. So I tried to break it off with her, and she said, my dad's a police officer. If you don't do exactly what I say, I'm going to tell him you tried to do, and then this long list of things that she just made up. And yeah, I stayed in that for almost 4 years, and it got to the point where she was drugging me on a regular basis, filming me being assaulted, sexually assaulted, all this shit by random people. And then you know, at the end of it, she was trying to help me kill myself. She was like, hey, you don't like yourself anyway, just, you know. And it started off with alcohol. I would just try and drink loads, and I'd get blackout drunk all the time. And she would take advantage of that. And there was just a lot of stuff going on there. And yeah, at the end of almost 4 years, I went to do my last year of university, and that's when yeah, she was just like, okay, like you can't tell anyone what I've been doing to you, so you got to kill yourself. And I was like, and there's just the one voice in my head said really loudly, no, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction. I didn't say it out loud, but like it just didn't let me. And then I had my first like proper relationship experience after that one. I met this girl who saw that I was struggling with stuff. And she was like, you're sad, aren't you? Like, what are you sad about? And I tried to tell her, and she was like, whoa, hold on a minute. Like, that sounds like a lot. I don't want to know about it. But like, you're with me now. It's cool. You don't have to worry. Like, relax. And that's when I had like a really positive relationship experience. I had someone who was with me because they wanted to be with me. It was yeah, we physically were really attracted to each other. That was great, but it was just really it was just nice. I don't know how to. It's a really crappy adjective, but it was nice to just not be under like you know constant threat and have this lump in my chest and my throat and my stomach like a big knot that you've swallowed and it's like all the time. And for
Yeah.
once, I felt freedom from that.
Wow, Saskin, thank you for sharing that. That's it's one thing to share about sexual abuse and then show and share again about how the sort of haunting of that can continue on to future relationships. And that first relationship, how traumatizing that was, the threats, the drugging, the sort of being held hostage almost, and how you were held hostage in your own mind with the fear of being confirmed that you were bad because internally you were believing that you were bad anyway at that time. And she really, yeah, that was it feels like a real sort of abusive relationship. And for the viewers out there, sometimes, if you have a friend or if you're struggling in a relationship that's not healthy at the moment, where there's some sort of harming taking place or some sort of bullying taking place or some sort of abuse taking place within the relationship, go talk to somebody. Go and reach out, share it to a friend, go to a therapist. But definitely often when there's early abuses, it can show up in relationships. So, and yeah, wow, you said, wow, like that second relationship was nice. I think that's a lovely word for it because it wasn't rewounding. It's innocent.
Yeah.
As you were sharing the innocence of sort of that time, when you actually said, well, okay, well, this is something different that seems to be working.
Yeah, she was amazing, man. Like, she was my first love, and that is it's like so innocent and playful and childlike, just like just so much, yeah, innocence and play. Like she was a bit older than me. I was 21 at the time. She was 23, and she was really surprised. She's like, "How many women have you slept with?" And I said, "2." And she was like, "What?" And she was like, Are you joking? Like, are you like this isn't normal?" And I was like, "Oh." And she had to. She didn't have to, but like she taught me a lot of things about being in the bed with her, and she's just shocked. Like, okay, like a lot of men want to do this and that with me. You haven't asked like what's going on, and I just said I haven't got a fucking clue. I've just been watching porn and like that's it. And she was like, "Ew, okay, don't do that while you're with me. Please don't watch it." I said, "All right, fine." And it was a lot of play. It was a lot of my like educating and learning through play, and it was great for me.
Yeah, well, there's this indicate a relationship that's safe, that's where you can communicate and talk about what you like, what you don't like, where you can allow yourself to be led, allow yourself to be taken, to really allow yourself to surrender, to have that touch, to have that play, can be very, very, very healing to have that experience and to, especially it feels like she was a bit of an angel to come in at the right time. It felt
Mm.
like a healing balm to some of the surface woundings that were present at that time. But I
Yeah,
have,
and another thing.
go
Sorry, I
ahead, sorry.
interrupted you, bro. I was just gonna say one of the other things was that I noticed looking back on all this is like, and I was just not just with me. A lot of people's childhood trauma plays out again and again and again and again and again in adulthood. And I don't know what the theory is, but from what I think in my own experience, so I'm trying to make sense of what happened in the past. So I'm reenacting it over and over again and try and get some sort of, I don't know what the fancy words are, but it sounds to me like just trying to get some sort of closure on it or something. And when I was with her, the pattern started breaking, and I was like, "Oh shit! I don't need to experience drama in my life to kind of make sense of what's going on in my head. Peace is really unfamiliar for me. Felt kind of boring. Be like, why haven't we argued? Why haven't we had some sort of like row or like heated? None of that. And it's just you're happy to sit down next to me and just look at me. I'm like, the fuck are you looking at? You don't have an argument. That is so foreign to me. It was weird.
Yeah, we sometimes people talk about I have a sense of vertigo with peace. They kind of get overwhelmed with it, or even a sense of freedom. I have clients who talk about that because it's so foreign. They know intimacy as drama and chaos and pain, and then to flip that, it can feel boring, and then on the other end of it can feel really overwhelming. That there's this newness, this unknown sort of reality here this atmosphere that I'm in at the moment, and I just don't know how to make sense of it. But I like it, but it's new, and you bathed in that. How long was that relationship, Saskia?
About 9 months or so. It was like when we finished university, I pushed her away because I just felt like I need to be on my own and sort out my shit because I keep making stuff her problem and it's not right. And she was. It was a bit weird. I was on and off for a bit, and then we parted ways when we finished university. And yeah, it was great because it just showed me front and center like you can have amazing relationships. Doesn't have to be bullshit.
Yeah, wow. And what was that phase after college for you, where there was more space?
Well, I'm Punjabi, right? Like my parents, in our culture, education is God, and the general trajectory for people who look like us is job, marriage, children, dead. And bro, I'd never been able to hold down a job for more than 3 months. So like after university, I was unemployed for 9 months, smoking weed and playing video games. And yeah, I just for like for during that time, my brother saw that I was having a hard time. I don't know what gave it away. Maybe it was all the video games. But he was like, "Look, this little box that you're playing on, you're investing all your time into it. Time's all you fucking got, and you don't even have it really. But if you got 12 hours a day, 18 hours a day to play this bullshit, you could be learning stuff and play it less. Just like learn stuff so you can do something with your life." And I was like, "Yeah, like what? He's a music producer, so it's always been easy for him to know what he wants to do, whereas I haven't had any of that." So he introduced me to the idea of like go sort yourself out, stop drinking, stop smoking, stop doing all this shit, and just go and pursue something. Like go be excellent at something. And didn't sound very fun to me, so I didn't bother. But one thing I learned was you can start a business and you don't have to do job, marriage, children, dead. You can do whatever you want, really. That's just an idea. And as soon as that went out of my head as it's just an idea, you don't have to do it, that's when I ran with it. So I learned about Gary Vee. He's an entrepreneur. He has a YouTube channel, and him and loads of other people, Lewis Howes, Sadhguru, all of these people, I started learning about them and watching people's interviews, like successful actors, musicians, all these people, just learning from how did they come from nothing to where they are now, and maybe I can take elements of that and apply it to me. And yeah, for a long time I was doing that, and then I got a job in a bank, which was just same as normal. I get fired within 3 months. 3 month mark comes up. My manager says, "Why are you here? You obviously don't want to be here." And I'm like, "Good point." She goes, "You come up with a good reason to be here, or don't come in on Monday." I'm like, "Cool, so I won't see you on Monday." Anyway, one point she said to me, like, if I said to her, "Look, I'm quitting. I'm done," and she goes, "If you don't quit, I'll suck your dick." And I was like, all right, look, she's hot, but she reminded me of that first relationship. I was like, that's it. Maybe if she looked different, I would have said yes. But I'll just me being honest here. I'm not a saint in it, but it's just because she looked like that girl. I was like, and she had told me this fucking weird story about someone close to her. I don't want to say too much because I don't want anyone to identify. It's not judgment or anything. Fuck that. But she told me this story that she felt bad for someone because they had an illness and like she's got a child. It's like I felt bad for her. I was like, shit, you got a hard life. All right, cool. Then she's propositioning me like this, and I'm like, there's something off here. So anyway, I go home. I'm like, no, I'm definitely quitting. I go and talk to my brother. I'm like, yo, this happened, and I'm just rattled. I don't understand why it's happening. And I don't use this language. I want to make it really fucking clear for everyone. Yeah, I don't talk like this. This is what my brother said to me. He said, I don't know why you're surprised. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you ever heard of that program, The Walking Dead, the zombies and all that? He goes, that's the working dead. Yeah, people who work jobs and they don't like their lifestyles. They're the working dead. They do 9 to 5, then they do all this fuck around bullshit, gossip, having sex outside their marriages and all that shit. You want to be like them, carry on. If you don't want to be like them, resign from, and not just from the job because you already quit, but get rid of all your friends, stop doing all this bullshit, and get on track with what you want to be doing. And that was a saving grace, man. No matter what my brother says or does to me, like I owe him my whole life because it set me back on track.
What were the pivotal sort of points after that where you started to then be able to calm the voices in your head and then flip the switch on it? Like walk me through like the pivotal moments where like your brother, how he helped you change direction, which is what big brothers are for actually when they're actually engaged. But for you to be like, what were those pivotal moments where you started to be able to understand how to shape your mind or call your thoughts into question?
Well, it started off with understanding and really deeply seeing that I've been right my whole life. And not objectively like I know everything in the world. It's not that. They're just like I've always known that this stuff is stupid for me, not to me. For me, this stuff, job, marriage, children, dead, it's not interesting. It's fucking ridiculous. And just noticing that, oh, I live a lifestyle of obligation. I have to, I should, I'm supposed to. And then seeing it as, well, if what if I didn't have that? That was the turning point. That's when I cut off all of my family. 99% of the people, I just removed them in my life. 2015 in like July. I was done. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing it anymore. All these obligations, all of these people around me that I should treat a certain way, because like the classic in our culture is respect your elders. And I ain't got a problem with respecting everyone, because I respect me. The problem I've got is listen to your elders and do what they say. Oh, I'll listen. Don't get me wrong, chef. I'll listen to everything you got to say, but I'm not going to do it. For example, my elders, if they said don't start a podcast because it's going to bring shame on the family, fucking ridiculous. So it was these little things that I was like, oh, that's stupid. That's not right for me. That doesn't make any sense. That's dumb. Like elders would be like, oh, but you should be focused on getting married. And I'll be like, hold on a second. You just said a swear word. You know that? And they were like, what? I say, should. You're fucking shitting on me. I don't appreciate that. Keep that shit to yourself. And my parents were going crazy at me, like, you can't talk to your elders like that. Oh my God. I stopped drinking. All of the people around me, including my family, were like, oh, there's something wrong with you. He's turned into an extremist Islamic. And I'm like, because I don't want to poison myself. I'm now a terrorist. The fuck, what? Like stupid shit like this. I'll be hearing it on a regular basis. I can also hear my judgment in the moment right now. I'm hearing it regularly, in it. Like people are like saying to me, no, you shouldn't read outside of our culture because, being friends with too many different people get you confused. Stuff like that. Never make you, hatred has got to be learned. And I realized from when I was very young, I never understood the hatred I was being taught by my culture. My parents never taught me that shit. It's the culture as a whole, as a collective. I'm being taught to hate people and ideas. And that's what I started tuning into. Hold on, this shit's never made sense to me before. Let's look in the opposite direction. So all of these negative things that I was hearing in my head, I was like, hold on, let's look in the opposite direction. That's where everything really started changing, because then I'm coming back to my truth that I've always had when I was hearing people's real intentions and shit. Now I'm tuning into that space, and that's very quiet. I don't have much doubt in it. It's like whispers, whereas these voices are like shouting from the rooftops, like alarm bells are ringing, sirens are going off.
Wow. So would you say that just wasn't in the latter years? That was throughout your life. There was these sort of what we would call kind of sort of, and then cultural and family sort of engulfment, and where there should be this, there ought to be that, you need to do this, you shouldn't do that, all these sorts of injunctions, these sort of where I use the word engulfment, like where you feel invaded almost by it, because as you were sharing at the beginning, those voices had a similar flavor, like you're not good enough, you'll never get a woman, you're like just those should and should nots, and heavy judgments. So apart from the abuses that you talked about that happened, and what you witnessed before all of that, within the family structure and within the sort of cultural sort of hand-me-downs that just didn't fit you, you had to experience that sort of critical, controlling parental voices from a young age. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. And like this is my understanding of generational trauma. I don't know if this is correct, whatever. This is my experience of it. Just going along with stuff because you people who came before you did it and lived like that. Like I would see people really unhappy, really overweight, like doing shit they fucking hate and just calling it a life. Oh, no one wants to get married, Sachin, but you know what? We all got to do it someday. You got to take the hit, bite the bullet. And I was sitting there like, hold on a minute, hold on. So you're telling me that you don't even like your wife? And he's like, oh, it's not about liking. It's about compromise, and you got to do what's accepted by the family. And I'm like, bro, you're telling me that with a straight fucking face. What's going on here, man? I'll be really shocked and just gobsmacked. Like if I heard this sick saying recently, if you got a business and you can't explain what your business does and it makes sense to a 6-year-old, you're doing it wrong. Now I have a business. If I can explain it to a 6-year-old, they might get it. They probably will get it, because I'm giving people access to the 6-year-old like way of being, like having less on your mind. These people around me, if they were trying to indoctrinate me into like believing this stuff, and it never made sense to me. I'd watch people like, cram living into their 20s. So like all the living you do is got to be crammed into your 20s, because then after that it's just the same day, year, month, week on repeat. And that really terrified me. I was like, nah, that ain't for me. And the big thing was the racism. Yeah, so my dad grew up around Jamaican people. My mom's grew up around like Caucasians, a lot of different types of like English people, Scottish and all that. So they never taught us to be racist. They never said anything about don't hang out with these people because their skin or none of that. Yeah, but the culture, the extended family, they were like, no, you shouldn't be hanging around with black people, with white people, you should never have a girlfriend that's not Punjabi. And bro, I'll be honest with you, that first relationship I was with, she was same as me, Punjabi. The first good relationship, she was Greek. And I had this internal guilt about, oh my God, I'm with a white woman, oh my God. And I felt bad about it until one day, yeah, this was so fucked up. I was smoking a joint with my friend and I was like, I was really upset about it. I was like, what's wrong? I was like, it's my relationship. He goes, you're with one of the, like, she seems amazing. She's hot and all that. Like, what's going on? I said, oh, but she's not Indian, so it's wrong. And Nigel, the way he laughed at me changed my life forever. He burst out, he coughed, choked on his laughter. He laughed so hard, he was crying. His face went so red, and he was hitting the wall and everything. I'm standing there like, I'm being serious. And he just said to me, he just said this one line, and it changed my life forever. He goes, you don't have to live like that, yeah? That's all optional. And I was like, the first I'm hearing of it, I must have missed the memo.
Yeah, that's it. It's again, that's how you call it with you, and that's why we need people sometimes to shape us, to shape our thinking. Because we can stay very cocooned in our own minds and don't see anything different, even though we maybe get bigger and maybe we think we even get wiser, but we still hold on to it until someone else can say, "Hey, man, there's something off there." That happened to me one time when I was in a therapy group in Dublin, and yeah, somebody said something and I broke down and I got in touch with a pain that I didn't know I had. And in the midst of breaking down, when I looked up, it changed everything because they were still there. I felt this sort of, wow, I wasn't so bad. And maybe these emotions aren't too bad. And wow, and they're there and they're interested and they're all men. Wow, this is what the hell is going on there? I think it's a similar moment to what you had with your brother. But this is really cool, man. So you're cleaning, you're doing some housekeeping. You're starting to define your own life, and you're stepping out. And what started to happen after that, where you're pulling away from the voices of these people. You're creating a distance from them because you didn't feel an alignment, and it was only causing you more sort of conflict. So you had to step away. What started to happen then?
So I really, like, when I stopped drinking alcohol, it was 2015 in June. I just had a series of bad nights out, and just like, yeah, I'd never really enjoyed it. I just get blackout drunk all the time. And I stopped doing it, and about 6 months, 5 months after I stopped doing it, I started remembering all my traumas, all the shit that was happening in the first relationship, and then all the way chronologically back to the first experiences I'd ever had as a kid. Started remembering everything, and up until that point, I couldn't remember my childhood. Couldn't remember anything before like 8, 9 years old. And then it started hitting me. And then I was like, shit, this isn't nice. Like, I'd have flashbacks and I'll just like freeze and I'll start crying, or like I'd be in the middle of talking to someone and have a flashback and I would just shut down in the conversation. And that's when I just took the initiative. I don't know how, but I just was like, cool, I'm not going to interact with other people. I'm just going to be on my own for a bit. And I've always been very chatty, if you can't tell. And in that time, I was just like, no, I'm gonna be on my own for a long time. Well, I don't know what long time was, but I'm just gonna be on my own for a while. And the more time I spent with myself, the more I felt like I was going nuts. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and get help for this. So I went to the NHS, I started telling the guy, hey, man, look, this is what's going on. And he was like, okay, let's get you a referral for therapy. I'm like, all right, cool. So I go talk to the referral guy. And he's like, it sounds like you got complex PTSD. It sounds like you got this. It sounds like, but we haven't given you a diagnosis yet. So, you know, do you want to go through that process? I said, fuck that. Because I know what's going to happen. Yeah, you're not going to put me on some pills and I'm going to die. So fuck all of that. And then I went to a private therapist who just listened to me. And I was like, it's cool, yeah, you can sit there and listen, but like, how do I get rid of these problems? And she goes, well, Sachin, you know, you can't just get rid of them. You can manage them. I was like, fuck that. That sounds stupid. So no. Did one session with her, didn't want to carry on, which is very ignorant. We could have made a lot of progress, but I just chose not to. Then I found this MBTI group, and they said, look, your shit is too severe to bring up in here. Like um, we're not built to be dealing with that. That's not what this space is for. And I was like, well, everywhere I go, I just feel like I'm fucked up. Like, what is it? You know about helping people? What the fuck? So, and I started looking at people on YouTube. I found a bunch of helpful YouTube channels. I did this thing. I got the Tony Robbins audios. Right, I had a big playlist of like 500 of his videos, and I would put them on at night, and I'll just rinse and repeat. I was listening to them like to try and reprogram my brain. And he said something. I woke up one day. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning, and back then I wasn't into waking up early. And I wake up to Tony's voice, and he's like, you can be a powerful person if you're willing to go beyond what you think. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? I didn't understand it, but there's something about what he was talking about and all these things. He kept talking about thoughts. And I was like, yeah, sounds cute, whatever. I go to another referral for therapy, and it's the same stuff. And I asked them, what do you think about this thoughts shit? And they were like, yeah, you know, your thoughts are a big part of the healing process and stuff. But again, no one was giving me answers, and no one was telling me how to get rid of these things. They were just like, I didn't like the word manage or cope or any of that. I was like, bro, I'm not trying to cope in it. I'm not trying to just get through life. I'm trying to exceed and excel. I want to live an amazing life. I don't want to have this bullshit. So I looked into doing mushrooms because I kept hearing about it in spirituality and lots of different YouTube channels. Apparently, it can be very healing. I did a lot of research on it. I researched it for about 18 months while I was doing all this, like getting referrals and all that. I did a lot of research before I even tried to get a hold of them. And I don't know, like if anyone's tried it, but like the way it came about for me, the way it was introduced to me, it was very much in sync with my journey. I'd finished that research period. I was like, cool, I feel like I'm ready. And then my friend texted me, goes, oh, by the way, we got some mushrooms. I was like, that's interesting. I didn't even tell you I wanted to do it. All right. So I get one big fat mushroom. By the way, I hate mushrooms. Yeah, the actual food. I can't stand it. I chopped it up into little pieces, like tiny, like it was pills. Chucked it in my mouth and swallowed it with coconut water. Like it made me feel sick. But I had some questions written down on a piece of paper that I felt only God could answer. That was the most impactful moment of my healing journey. It set me off on the right direction. And when I say right direction, it didn't do anything to me. It was my questions that I wanted to ask myself and God that sorted out my shit. So at that time, I had been blogging about my journey, like what I was going through, what I was learning, what I was unlearning. And I felt like I was in communication with God while I was on the mushrooms. So I just asked God, I was like, look, you're giving me all this bullshit in my fucking life to deal with. I want one answer from you and one answer only. It's questions that Google can't answer. Yeah, I want one answer from you. And God was like, okay, what do you want? I said, tell me why these things had to happen to me. Then I'll drop it. And God was like, all right, cool. You sure you want that? Yeah. So yeah. God goes, okay, laid out the roadmap for me. This is why I gave you this. This is your life trajectory. You're supposed to be helping people. I said, that's cute. How the fuck do I believe that? Because I want to believe it. It sounds nice. I'd rather believe that than all the bullshit. So how do I believe it? And God goes, this is the moment that changed my entire life. I'm not joking. You can't write this stuff. You can't make it up. I was blogging on Tumblr back then. I had the app on my I had the desktop on, like that's where I would use it mainly, and I had the app on my phone, but I didn't really open it. I very rarely used it. It was just there just in case you can't log into the laptop. God said, go and look at your phone and read the message that you've just received. If you've got a message from someone, then all of the stuff that I've just said to you is right. If you haven't, fuck it all off. At that time, no one was paying attention to my blog. Didn't have likes, didn't have comments, didn't have followers, didn't have shit. It was like 1 or 2 interactions every couple of months. So I go on my phone, look at the messages, and some chick from Malaysia goes, "Hey Sachin, thank you so much for all the help. Please keep going. It's really helping me." And yo, like chills. Even when I tell you the story now, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, at the right time, man. You got the signs. I remember one time I was working with a Sufi, and she asked me. She says, "Okay, today's your day to listen for the signs." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Okay, well, you to speak to nobody, just to walk around town for about 8 hours and listen to all the conversations and notice and see the things, billboards, signs, and see what, and imagine that if all of those people are talking, if they were talking to you, and it was one of the most profound meditative walks I've ever had, because there was so much that came through noticing, and God, energy, whatever it is that told you, you directed it to the phone at that time, and you got what you needed, man. You got the gold nugget, and I take it that started to gather momentum after that.
I just, I dropped the victimhood around it. I was like, cool, got the answer. I wanted to ask God, got the fucking answer. Now what? And I was just, it's a daily commitment, man. You don't just drop it. But after that day, I journaled about it, and I was like, cool, this is the trajectory I'm going on. Even if it takes me 10 years, I am going to make this my living. I don't know how the fuck I'm going to do it, but it's going to happen. I started blogging more, I started sharing more about my journey. And someone asked me, "Are you a life coach?" I didn't have a fucking clue what it was. No, we were talking about a life coach. And I'd seen some of the YouTube channels, but I didn't really understand what they did. So I looked it up and I found a course in London. As a 6 months coaching course. They teach you how to coach. You get a lot of hands-on time, like practicing with your cohort and all that. So I did the course, and as part of the course, they said we want you to do 40 hours of practice coaching people. I was like, cool, sounds good. But I don't want. I'm a very extreme dude. I don't really like to roll with half measures. So I said, all right, if I'm considering doing this as a career, surely I should really do it. So I said, I want to coach 100 people for free. And after that point, it will be very clear to me if I want to do this or not. So I did. At the end of those 6 months, I'd coached 100 people for free, and it was extraordinary. I coached all kinds of people. For example, this chick that I talked to one day, she goes, "It's really weird we're having this conversation today because I tried to kill myself yesterday, but the pills didn't work." And she showed on the video, she just showed me flush. She showed me her flushing the pills down the toilet after the conversation. Another woman, her 4-year-old son had just died or not just died, it was like a couple of years ago. And she was an exotic dancer, and she's having a real big trouble with her partner, and just felt way out of my league coaching with these people. But I just very quickly saw that this thing comes through me, not from me. From me is like, oh, I've got some good ideas. Yeah, maybe this will work, maybe that will work. Through me is I don't even know what's coming out of my mouth. I'm just saying stuff to you or hearing stuff from you and through me, and I'm going with it. And I kept having these mystical experiences when I spend time with people. It was really weird, like not in a bad way. I got really I don't know what the word to call it is. I just got very reclusive. I stopped talking to other people, and I'm having these profound experiences with other people, and I'm having to sit for a while afterwards and be like, "Fucking hell, what just happened, man?" And that really showed me I want more of this, and I'm good at it, and I like it. I like seeing people change in front of me. It's fucking cool. And then yeah, like 2000, that was 2017. At the end of that year, some people offered, "Hey, look, this conversation's been really helpful. Can I pay you?" And it was like $20, $50 here and there, whatever. And I was like, cool, this is it. I'm gonna try and make this work. I hired my own coach, 2018. His name's Dan Warburton. He's very high up in the Landmark Forum thing. We did 6 months of work together, just clearing out my bullshit, clearing up some of these stories that I had about being able to create money. Who am I to do this? Blah, blah, blah. And after that, the whole trajectory of my life changed. He really showed me what it means to commit. And before that, I'd been terrified of commitment.
So here comes another angel at the right time.
Yeah, good old Dan. He's a fucking epic guy, man. One time I was asking about relationships, and his wife walked past him in the background. He goes, "Hello, monkey," and I was like, it's just so playful with her, and I'd never seen that in my whole life. I'd always treat relationships like super seriously and like, oh my god, women, and he's just having a good time with her, and she smiled at her. She's like, like they had this thing, and I was like, Dan, aren't you scared that she's not going to think you're a man and all this other shit? And we cleared up so much crap that I had around dating, and it really set the foundation for me to start enjoying my time with women. It was amazing.
Do you feel at that stage then you were able to again drop the hidden sort of ideals and around who you're supposed to be with a woman and move towards a sort of more intimacy that was starting to happen in your relationships at that time, or did that come later?
Bit of both, man, to be honest. Like, it started off like that, at that point, like I had been abstinent from 2014. I decided I'm not going to touch any other women after I broke it off with the Greek girl, because I knew I had problems and I didn't want to make it someone else's problem. So I chose not to be around women. And then in 2017, I had sex for the first time in like almost 4 years. And it was fascinating. Like, I didn't feel like heavy or anything. And it was a short-term thing, and then I met someone else online. She saw what I was doing, and we talked, and she was ready for a relationship, but I wasn't. I was like, no, I want to sort my business and like build something first so I can actually provide and all of that stuff. And then when I started talking to Dan, he was like, Sachin, you're treating all of this stuff really seriously. You can have a one night stand, for example. He wasn't encouraging me, but he was like, you can have sex with someone once and not feel bad about it. You can have an intimate connection with someone for as little as long as you want, as long as it's two-way consensual, and not have these expectations like, no, you shouldn't be doing that. Because in the way I grew up, and not from my parents, but just the way I interpret everything, like, no, you should only be with someone if you're serious about being with them. And it was always guilt, it was always shame, and all this bullshit. And then later on, my mentor, I hired, his name is Johnny Saporno. The name is purposeful. He worked in the porn industry for a long time. He taught me this thing, which was fucking incredible. Yeah, it's going to take me a couple of minutes to explain it. So sorry if it's long-winded. So basically, at the dawning of the the thawing of the last ice age, agriculture started coming about, and the concept of property and ownership started coming about. Men would work fields and women would work them too, but like, men came up with this concept of ownership. So I've worked hard on this soil and grown these crops, and it's mine now. The women birth my children, and how do I stop them from having kids that aren't mine? Okay, well, I got to try and control them some way. So that was more ownership. And he just basically showed me how it's not my fault, but I believe these things about property and ownership on some level. And he showed me how it was not true. And he showed me, if you were a woman, would you want to be treated that way? And yes, women get judged differently for things than men. Do you want to live in a world where that's true? I said, no. He goes, all right, well, go and be that for women. Be on their side. Be on their team. Free them. And not by teaching them this stuff, not because, oh my God, you're oppressed, but just live it. Live the freedom that you have experienced by me showing you how men have, it's not men's fault now, but the word is patriarchy, I think. I don't know. How that stuff has ruined having a good time for everyone. And bro, that was the exact thing that I needed to free me from all my cultural conditioning. Was just learning, like, hold on a minute, I've been treated like that too. Shit. In my culture, kids and women are property, not people. I don't want that for anyone I'm with. So that really like blew the lid off it for me, and started having great relationships with women after that.
Yeah, that's powerful, man. What you did is you sort of decontaminated your adult orientation from the cultural sort of hand-me-downs, and now so you're able to grow that awareness, which is what you were cultivating, and then you were able to make a new decision how to live in your life, and to know that you can choose differently, and not be held again hostage in a different but similar way, with those sort of constraints. Wow, great job, man. And through that, was that still around 2018, 2019?
No, I took to Johnny back in 2020. So like, and my business was doing better. You know, I really I hired a business coach in 2019, thinking that I just want to make it like I want when I hit 100 grand a year, then I'll be happy. You know, doing that classic "I'll be happy when" bullshit. And he helped me get there. No, nothing on him. He's fucking great. But when I got to that point, I was like, I'm not happy. What the fuck? I've achieved some of my childhood dreams. I went to Japan, which is one of the things I've been wanting to do for a long time. Stayed there for a month. Had a Japanese girlfriend for like a week, which was fucking great, but got a bit too serious for my liking, and I went home. I've done a lot of things and experienced a lot of things I've always wanted to have, and I still wasn't happy. So then I hired another coach. His name's Ankush. I'm still working with him now, and that was when I really started getting in touch with what was important to me. Okay, I want to have a relationship. I don't want to have this BS with women. I want to enjoy my business instead of thinking, oh my God, how do I do the next thing? How do I get to the next place? Like I just wanted to have less on my mind and enjoy my life. The same stuff that I'm doing. I wanted that and I didn't have it. So then I hired Johnny, I hired Keith, and a bunch of other people. Just every penny that I was making, I was putting back into making me. Okay, not making me, helping me drop the BS that I was carrying. And it was worth every penny, man. I've invested about 150 grand in myself at this point, not in ads, not on marketing, not none of that BS. Literally just being coached, taking my own journey deeper. And last year, 2021, I went to Mexico, and all the stuff that Johnny had taught me, yeah, it was working. I wanted, and this is another thing I wanted. I wanted to go and have a lot of sex to see, oh, what's that about? And it wasn't what I wanted, but I did it, and I don't regret any of it. It was fucking great, but it taught me a lot of things that I don't actually want that. And before I left, I was really done with my parents. I'm like, look, I've tried to change you guys. You're not interested, right? Whatever, fuck you. I'm done. And after like 8-9 months living out there, and doing a lot of LSD and mushrooms, I might add, I got a message from the plants, and it was like, you're all of this stuff you're looking for from women, you've already got it. You don't have to look for it anymore. And then I saw when I dropped looking for it, it made me realize something else that's really important to me is family. So then I started working on my relationship with my parents, which required me dropping the age-old story. You guys fucked up when I was young. Fuck you. And I just dropping that. Now I have a sick, amazing relationship with my parents. And like my mom's, I call her the best events organizer in the world. She's just helping me. She helped me sort out my retreat this year. She's helping me do my intensive in November. Like I'm involving her in this stuff, not because she's asked to be, but because that's what I'm choosing to create with her. And I'm choosing to create rather than, oh, based on who you were or who I was, we can have this. I'm just pulling, I have this expression here. I'm gripping reality like this and pulling it apart, reaching my hand into the primordial ooze that is reality and plopping it down on the table. And you got Play-Doh. Let's play. What do you want to create? That's how I want to treat life, rather than based on yesterday, I can only have this. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, that's good, man. And to hear you, it's important sometimes to pull away from family, but to hear the courage it takes and the sort of wisdom to be able to know that actually, it's important that why do we do this work of change? Why do we do this work of getting to know ourselves if we can't come back to the people who matter? And how by coming back to the people that matter, then it completely impacts our relationships with our most intimate people. So your relationship with your mother now, regardless of course, helped by the coaching and everything that came before, but the fact that you put the work in and the effort in to be able to have that intimacy, that connection with your mother is going to be impacting. If you're in a relationship now, or any future relationships will be greatly enhanced because of your relationship with your mom. Great job, man.
Dude, it's changed everything. So like last year when I was in Mexico, I was with someone, but it was from this like, I don't want to be on my own, so I'll just keep you around. I wasn't really, she's my best friend. She was like, we were best friends, but we weren't right for each other. But I held on to it because I felt like I was missing something. Now I got this with my parents. I don't have that. And I'm in a relationship now. I met my girlfriend a couple of weeks ago. And it's totally different. It's completely different. Like I don't need her to be happy. Don't get me wrong. She's great. I have a great time with her. but I don't have this like anxiety bubbling up. Like, oh, did I say this wrong? It's just like open communication. If she decides, hey, Sachin, look, this isn't for me, cool. Still love you, all good. Because like I don't feel like I'm missing something, and that's so different, man. Like the sex is different, the hanging out together is different, the priorities in the relationship are different. It's all different, and it's never felt more easy or natural. Like I said, it's only been a couple of weeks. I'm not looking into the future, but so far so good. I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah, well, you're still in the eros at the moment, so it's supposed to be this at the stage, and then let's see if it continues. But the for sure dynamics happen, but because it's not about having a dynamic free relationship, it's about how to deal with the ups and downs and loves and losses, and that's what you've been doing your whole life. It stands out. That's impressive, Saskia, is the fact that you've stepped. You kept moving towards people. You kept asking for direction. You asked for support. You got accompanied. You got coaching, and you just were ferociously, tenaciously, like wanting to, to get help. To get guidance. And for me, for the viewers out there, if you're struggling, if life isn't going the way that you would like it to go, or there's a sort of depression, or there's an anxiety, or there's a midlife crisis, or there's a sort of relational fatigue, or there's a sort of lostness at your work, or it's important to reach out for help. There's something maybe going on, maybe something from your past is haunting you that's here in the present. Maybe there's your thoughts are ruling the roost in a way. Maybe those critical voices are not true. I suppose, Saskin, as we're coming to the end here, what would be the advice that you, or the words of wisdom that you would share to anybody who's struggling right now with critical, heavy, self-defeating, self-loathing, unloving voices in their head?
Well, I believe people need encouragement more than they need advice. So I'm not going to give any advice because I don't look, man. I don't view myself as someone who knows stuff. I'm trying to get as far away from knowing shit as possible. I'm trying to be free of knowledge because it just fucking weighs me down. The encouragement I would give everyone is there's nothing wrong with you. You're whole and complete. No matter what, the only thing that can never convince us of otherwise is thoughts, and they don't have truth in them. And the encouragement I give is I encourage you to look in that direction. And if any of this has spoken to you, call or text me. Find me. I'm on Instagram and all that. You don't have to pay me to talk to me. Just text me, ask me a question, or just say what's up. And do it not just to me. Just anyone. Like, pick someone that you like the sound of and ask them, hey, I like what you're doing. Can I ask you a question? They will most of the time say yes. And if they don't, there's hundreds of others out there. So the encouragement I give everyone is look in that direction. If you want to believe something, before you believe it, look in the opposite direction. Like I was vegan for like almost a year. And before I dabbled in it, I didn't really look in the opposite direction, and I fucked my health up for a bit. And now I looked in the opposite direction and building my health back, really becoming fit and strong again. And it's just because something sounds like it could be true, I don't mean it is.
Yeah, maybe it just didn't work for you, and you're on the right path to find something that does now.
Yeah, that's it, man. We're all different, like I don't do NLP and EFT and all these other things. Like it doesn't speak to me, but I know it's helping people. It's cool. I like that. What I do is the complete opposite to most things out there. I'm just changing my relationship to thinking. That's all. It's the only thing I'm ever going to work with anyone on. I'm not going to do anything else. And that's what calls to me. Might not be right for anyone else, but that's the direction I want to look in. And that's, again, another encouragement I'd give to everyone else. Encourage you to, like you said, find what works for you. It might not be this. It might not be talking about stuff. It might not be listening to certain things. Your thing might be going to sit in nature and scream at trees for a bit. It helped me a bit.
Yeah, that's great. I did a bit of that in my youth as well. But hey, I'm really moved just by the journey, man. The vulnerable young man that I'm sitting with here who, before we started, I asked Saskin, is there anything that we shouldn't talk about? And he says, I'm an open book, and the work that it takes to be an open book is quite a lot, and the sort of the voices that he was able to set free from his mind, from his thoughts, are a testament to what enables you to be an open book, because those voices contract, limit, shorten, and subdue and sort of shrink your how you see the world, and how it creates a way where you hide from the world. And Saskin is a man who's not hiding anymore. And it's impressive. And all I want to say, Saskin, to you, brother, is that you just keep shining your torch and keep doing your thing. And yeah, it's powerful. And I just want to share something that I was feeling just as we were about 5 or 6 minutes ago. And it's this place where I think that it's like the cultivation of courage that it takes to be able to let go of the story. It takes something, to be able to let go of the comfortable numbness of an unfulfilled life, to be able to let go of that. So I was feeling this sort of sense of courageousness in you, and a sort of ease, a sort of courageous ease that I feel when I'm sitting with you. And I could see, and then I also see in sort of symbols and stuff. So I was seeing you on the horse with, a sort of army of soldiers, and they're all carrying sort of swords and axes and shit, and you're just chilling on the horse at the top of the pack, and yeah, that courageous ease that I invite anybody who's struggling to experience, to help with that energy, that sort of accompaniment of a courageous ease, can help you find a new solid ground where you can see more clearly, feel more deeply, and move towards peace. So Saskin, thank you. Keep shining, brother, and we'll be in touch. Thank you, and thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back again later this week on Friday for a very interesting topic on redecision therapy. Saskin.
Can I have 1 more minute, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. It's not about me, it's about you. I really acknowledge you for creating this. For it speaks to me, it speaks volumes about who you're being in the world, for the ability that you have to create this, the space for these conversations, the questions that you're asking, and what you want to give to people. I acknowledge that in you because it's a beautiful thing, and I want people to understand I wouldn't be able to give anything valuable in this conversation if it wasn't for the way you've created it. So that's the first thing. I acknowledge you and I really appreciate you for doing this. And the other thing I wanted to say about you is that the work that you've put in your own journey and with others that you work with is evident to me. This is the first time or second time we've talked, but it's the first time we've spent quality time together, and it really speaks to me. The stillness, the presence. You haven't been off with the fairies while we've been speaking. You haven't been like checking your phone, or it's been really obvious to me that you're here. You're really here. And I want everyone who's watching and listening to really understand that, like, this isn't a normal guy that's creating this. Nigel is doing some extraordinary work in the world, on and off camera, and I want to acknowledge you for that. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Saskin. And let me share something to you and to the people watching. I learned something today, and well, I've been learning it for a while, but I put it together today, and I was on a sort of quest of wanting to be autonomous, which is really cultivating awareness, spontaneity, and intimacy. And as I sit with you, I realize that it gets redundant, because homogeny, which is like Ubuntu, it's about interrelatedness. It's where you take autonomy towards a society, towards the other, towards people. So we really need people. I need people to come alive, and it's through the enliveningness of people and groups of people that that are vulnerable, real, open to share about what's real in their life, what struggles they are in at that particular time. It's that connection that brings me alive. So as you were talking, I was again pondering: is it the listener that brings the speaker alive, or is it the speaker's groundedness and heart that brings and beckons the listener to come forward? I don't know. I'll sit with the question. But what I've learned is I need people, man. And the more that you're alive, you bring me alive, because then you help me remember the things I forget. And and I need that. And I have a feeling that we're going to do this again in the not too distant future. But thank
I
you,
look
Sachin.
forward to it, man. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for your kind words and your wisdom. And for everybody, we'll see you again on Friday. Take care now.